Okay, let's unpack this. Our world is just constantly shaped by these high-stakes global conversations, right? And some headlines, they just grab you, make you think about the huge implications. Today, we're diving deep into exactly that kind of topic. It's drawn from some recent, really vital reporting, Israel's potential strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities.
And I really want to lean into that word, potential, because its significance here, I mean, you really can't overstate it in this ongoing story.
No, you can't. And what's fascinating, I think, is how just one headline like that can pack in so much international dynamic. Understanding these situations, it goes way beyond just the news flash. It's really about grasping the intricate layers of geopolitical tension, the history behind it all, and frankly, the profound ripple effects these events, even potential ones, could have globally. I mean, just knowing about Iran's historical emphasis on self-reliance, especially with sanctions, or Israel's very consistent deterrence doctrine, these are just a couple layers we can touch on. Absolutely. And our mission here really is to give you a kind of shortcut to being well-informed on something that just keeps impacting global stability,
Yeah.
helping you grasp not just, what's happening on the surface, but why it actually matters. So, okay, let's jump in then. When we talk about these potential strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities,
Yeah.
what exactly are we referring to? Like the program itself, and why is this potential always sort of hanging in the air?
Well, okay, when we discuss Iran's nuclear program, we're mostly focused on its uranium enrichment capabilities. The main facilities you hear about are Natanz and Fordo. Now, these sites have been under scrutiny by the IAEA, that's the UN's nuclear watchdog, for a long time. But Iran has steadily increased its output, enriching uranium to higher levels, installing more advanced centrifuges, that kind of thing. Now, Tehran consistently says its program is peaceful, power generation, medical isotopes. But international concerns, especially from Israel and some Western powers, they center on the idea that these advancements could seriously shorten Iran's breakout time.
Breakout time.
Yeah, the time it would theoretically take to produce enough weapons-grade material for a nuclear bomb.
Right. Which brings us directly to Israel's perspective then. What are their specific concerns? What makes them feel this constant threat might require military action to be on the table, even if it's a last resort?
For Israel, a nuclear-armed Iran is seen as, well, an existential threat. Plain and simple. Given Iran's rhetoric, its support for groups hostile to Israel, their intelligence assessments often point to Iran getting closer to that weapons-grade capability. And Israel has this well-established deterrence doctrine. It includes taking preemptive action if they perceive a threat as imminent. We saw this in the past, right? Like the strike on Iraq's Ozark reactor in '81 or the one in Syria in 2007. For them, waiting could mean facing a much, much more dangerous scenario down the line. So, yeah, the constant contemplation of preventative measures is always there, even if it's just that contemplation, a last resort.
But it's not just Israel and Iran in this picture, is it? How do other big players like the U.S. or European powers, even regional states, how do they fit into this delicate balance? And how does just the threat of a strike affect their diplomacy?
Yeah, that's where it gets really complex. The U.S. and European powers, they've largely pushed for a diplomatic path. Think the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, though that deal's had a rocky road, obviously. But the constant specter of military action, even just the potential, it forces every nation involved to rethink its strategy constantly. Take the Gulf states, like Saudi Arabia. They're acutely aware of the regional power shifts this implies. They might, quietly push for stricter international oversight on Iran, or maybe even consider developing their own nuclear capabilities if they feel the threat isn't being handled. It's a real concern. The mere possibility of a strike can shape everything from oil prices to military aid packages flowing into the region. It has wide ripples.
Yeah, it really underscores that this isn't some topic that gets resolved cleanly and then just vanishes from the headlines. These conversations around Israel's concerns, Iran's program, the possibility of military action, it's just a persistent feature of global concern and diplomatic maneuvering. It's this complex, ongoing saga.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear. The mere potential of events like this profoundly shapes diplomacy, alliances, regional stability, everything, even if a strike never happens, right? The constant discussion, the threat assessment, it influences policy, investment, strategic decisions all across the globe. Nations react not just to what happens, but to what might happen, to perceived threats and capabilities. And, this raises an important question and maybe something for you to think about. How does that constant specter of military action, even when it stays potential, actually influence the path a nation takes with its nuclear program or global efforts towards non-proliferation? Sometimes the shadow of potential action can be just as influential as the action itself.
That's a really powerful point. Exactly. Keep reflecting on these insights. Truly understanding those layers behind the news, the why behind the what. That's really key to being genuinely well informed in, well, our very complex world.